What is going on, kids? So today we're going to be making some link sausage. I've got some grind from customers' pigs I need to get done today. One of them being my mom's, and she sweet talked me, and she's getting some link sausage. So because of that, I had about 20 pounds of pork left from my pig last year in the freezer. So I'm going to go ahead and make some link sausage for us as well. So I figured I would go ahead and do a video on it because I haven't done one in a while. Actually, I don't think I've done a video on link sausage since we started the page. Link sausage sucks. I'm going to admit that outright. I don't love making it, but it is what it is. I've made ungodly amounts, thousands upon thousands of pounds of link sausage. It's very, very, very easy. It's just a lot of time going into it. So, first thing, got our 20 pounds of pork. We have our seasoning. This is for about 25 pounds. I like heavily seasoned sausage, so we're just going to add the full 25. So, you can see behind me, we got the grinder already set up. This starts fairly normal, as normal just sausage would that you've seen me make on the page. We add our seasoning in, get it all turned around. This is nice. This pork still has a little bit of a chill on it. I mean, obviously it's been in the walk-in, but we did pull it out of the freezer, so it is a little frozen still, which is good. Helps bind everything up. If you have a very dry sausage, as in there's not a lot of fat in it, what can also help is adding some water to it, or what's even better is adding ice to your grind. Not a ton, but just enough to help bind everything up, keep everything cold, and the water will actually mix with the seasoning and kind of bind it up a little bit. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to get it set up for the grinder, and we'll see you guys in a second. All right, so before I get everything ground, I went and opened up the casings. I store these in the freezer. They are packed in salt. And again, I just toss them in the freezer. They stay fairly well. And these are what the casings look like. They don't have any smell to them. Again, these are just basically dehydrated pig intestines. When I pulled them out of the freezer, I tossed them in a cryovac bag with some water as well to thaw out. So they've been sitting in that water for a couple days. Now we got them in a bucket or a bowl to really just rehydrate, rinse the salt off. It's good to get as much salt off as you can. It'll just make the casings go by smoother. So now I'm just going to go ahead and readjust the camera, and we'll get some stuff ground. All right, so now it's time to put these in casings. I'm going to stop yelling. I have headphones on because this is super loud, but all I'm doing is yelling into this. So I apologize. We're going to get the sausage in the casing. So we're going to go ahead, dump this in, and I'm going to show you how to put your casings on your horn. Save the jokes in the comments, or put them. I don't really care. I've heard them all 10,000 times. If you follow my TikTok, you also know that butchers just have an aggressively dark sense of humor. So then all of a sudden you add sausage making into that environment, it gets rough. I'm just going to rinse this out. Once again, with the magic of Bluetooth mics, you can hear me, but you can't see me. All right, sausage is in. So these have been sitting for a little while. Now, what you want to make sure is that the inside of the casings are well lubricated. Again, we're going to make it through this, I promise, guys. Now, this little trick actually took me a couple years to figure out. I didn't realize you could do this with them. So as you can see, they're in this plastic sleeve, and it is kind of in a V. So what you can do, slide that on like that, and you can just pull that right out like that. Super simple. Now, if the casings are well lubricated, it's perfectly fine to do that and fairly easy. The issue you'll run into sometimes with that is that the center won't be as wet, so it won't come off the horn as well. I'm going to try to explain all of this before I get going with it. I'll stop and start a little bit, but this is so loud that it's just going to muffle out anything I say. So we start with a little bit off like that. If you wanted to tie it, you can. I don't link while I grind. So obviously I'm grinding off of my grinder, which is one way to do it. You can also get a sausage stuffer, which is one of those crank ones. You can control the variable speed of how much you want to fill. My biggest tip would be just to let the casing come off as free as possible. So I'll even pull some out first to test it and make sure, and then you can kind of just toss it back on. But you don't want to overstuff the casings, because what happens is as soon as you go to start linking it, then that's when your sausages will break, especially when you start cooking them, they'll break. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this going. And I'll stop it. So as you can see, it's still fairly loose in there. Those will tighten up and look like a regular sausage once you get them linked. But that's about how much you want to put into the casing. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this done. So what I'm doing here is I hit kind of a dry spot. So what I'm doing is separating all the casing from each other and then tossing it back on, instead of all of it coming off all at once and you got a big gap in your link and then it's just a big pain in the butt. So it's worth taking the time to get it right. This is my biggest complaint about link sausage, and why I charge what I charge for it is because it's so much more work than just loose sausage. All right, so we hit a dry spot, which, like I said, is a possibility of happening. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull the rest of that off. We're going to bring this back over. So there is water in this, so we're just going to open this up. And we'll get about that much out. You take your fingers and you spread that open, and you put in about a sausage link's worth of water. So it kind of looks like that. Then pop that off. Toss that on. And not thumble with it this much because you're a professional. And what I like to do is hold this up like this, so I know every section is getting the water it needs. Nope. That would be why. All right, we'll try this again. All right, so that's back on. As you can see, there's a lot more air in it, and it moves a lot smoother on there. So we're just going to get right back to it. And as you can see, the casing comes off way easier like this. doesn't hurt to use these fingers and pull the casing off as it goes. It just helps it out.
Excuse me.
Comments are going to be wild on this one. I already know. All right, so we're back. So we're going to pull all of this out onto the table. We're going to get this linked. So again, as you can see, it's not packed in there crazy tight. And the reasoning for that is you get your one end, you get it pinched, and you get about however you want the size of your sausage. And I usually will just put it between my index and thumb and kind of pinch it off and just do a spin. So now what you're going to do after that is do the exact same thing, and you're going to spin it in the opposite direction. So what that is doing, it is continuing this knot over here and making sure that your sausage is staying linked. And then, I did it backwards. So you're just going to go through and continue to make your links. You can go through after the fact with like a toothpick or something or a knife and pop all the air bubbles. That will help aid in cooking. That way you don't have any blowouts or something like that. And you can also just try and work them out as you're doing it. I don't like to wear gloves during sausage making. It's going to sound wrong. It's going to sound absolutely wrong. It doesn't feel right in the hand. When you're dealing with the casings and stuff, you need to kind of have a tactile feel of what you're doing. And gloves just kind of get in the way of it. Can't get over it. Sausage making. Alrighty, so everything's linked. At the end there, I was like, hey, we'll make a couple of those little guys too, because why not? That's the nice thing about making your own sausage. Your links can be whatever size you want them to be.
Every woman knows size doesn't matter.
I'm actually fairly proud of myself. I've made link sausage in probably a year and a half now, and I only had 2 blowouts. We got that one right there. So the important thing about making link sausage is you need to let it rest a day. If you cut these and then tried to vacuum seal them right now, it would just burst out of both ends. You need to let the casings adjust. You need to let the meat settle. All the seasonings and everything that's in the meat. There's also things in the seasonings that help like combine the sausage and get it to where when you put it in the cryovac bag, it's not going to just burst out of both ends. So it's super important to let it sit for a day. So we're going to go ahead and toss this in the cooler. You guys have seen me cryovac 1,000 things. So there's nothing really crazy about that. It just depends on how many sausages you want per package. Other than that, again, Link sausage is really simple. It's just technique more than anything. If I can do it, you can do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I might put 2 videos out this week. I'm not sure. We are going to be doing a breakdown video off of one of our pigs tomorrow. So it might be 2 videos, might be 1 video. Might get the pig video next week. So we'll see. But I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.